Hi, y'all. Welcome to another episode. So this is episode 28, also known as episode 2 of season 4. So just a quick recap. So this season is literally titled by me, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen season, because as you know, I wasn't expecting to end up in a relationship. So it's a new relationship and it's going pretty fucking awesome so far. So I'm optimistic and hopeful and appreciative of it and grateful for it and the whole bit. But I do think that it's interesting to continue to talk about some of my first dates, prior to meeting 69, right? But I also think it's pretty fun to sit and talk about and debate some of the first, right? So in this episode, I want to talk about first date number 40, mostly because I just fucking ran into him and it was unexpected and holy fuck, it was kind of funny to me. Anyway, and then I'll let you know how 69 reacted, and then we'll just go from there, right? Okay, so from what I want to talk about, I think the most about first dates, or whether it's something that happens in a new relationship or a new friendship or new employment or what have you, is like there's a lot of first in life, right? So it's like the first time something happens doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the way it's going to be the whole time, right? It's not necessarily always going to set a precedence, but it's kind of significant. It's like important, right? So it's like an integral part of like the journey, right? So I like talking about first, specifically with new relationships, because holy shit, I haven't been in a new relationship for what, fucking 14 years or something like that, right? So, and I was single for 2 years, as you know, right? That's where all the first dates came from. Okay, so 69 and I live fairly far away from each other, right? So we have to fly, and we've been flying fairly regularly since we met in person the first time, which was Christmas, right? So that, awesome Christmas Hallmark movie first date, right? So things have been going really well. And our relationship has been interesting in the sense because we live so fucking far away from each other. When we do see each other, we've been pretty lucky. I would say we're averaging every 3 weeks since we met for Christmas. There's another trip coming up I'm so fucking excited for. But what's kind of cool about it and makes it unique is we don't see each other every day, right? Because we live really fucking far away from each other. But we, in my opinion, do a really good job of talking, calling, FaceTiming, whatever, every day. So I feel connected, even though he lives so fucking far, right? And I think he feels the same way, and it's pretty awesome. But when we do see each other, so far it's been like a minimum of like a 3-day weekend, right? So, and I've been really impressed of how seamless it has been, right? So it's pretty fucking awesome. But the reason I want to say all that is even though we haven't known each other for a huge, amount of time, I feel really close to him, really connected. And I felt that way really quickly, right? So when it came to a first for us, which would have been like the first selfie couple photo kind of thing, or really just a first photo of a couple, it didn't have to be a selfie, but I was on a trip with him and the trip was going really well. And this was before we had changed our relationship status on social media and within each other. So it was a little bit of a throwback, so to speak, right? So we were having like a great weekend. Like I flew up to see him. We had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of drinks. It was awesome. And then he was like, hey, so we're going to go somewhere, right? But on the way, do you mind if we stop by and meet a friend? Because, she's a female friend and, really close to her and she wants to meet you. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, if, not that far away, like why not? If we're already going somewhere else, And I was just like, cool, let's do it, right? So he was like, so we're driving there, whatever. And then he was like, yeah, so I want to take a photo. I asked her to take a photo with her, of us, if that's okay with you, because she takes really good photos. So my first thought was like, what? And then my second thought was like, motherfucker, I'm a fucking photographer. And then number 3 was like, no, right? So I had like, what the fuck? I'm a photographer. No, like all this like hit my brain at the same fucking time, right? So he's like, driving with his cute like, face and the whole bit. And I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to handle this? Because I felt like at that point we were headed toward the point where we were going to end up in a new relationship, but it was too soon to have that conversation. And even though it's a photo, and even though I knew that neither one of us was dating anybody else, and I knew we were off of apps, and I knew where we were headed, I don't mean the fucking car, but I mean, we were headed there. But I mean, like, I didn't know we were headed. like in our journey with the relationship, I had these three thoughts simultaneously, right? And I was like, I didn't handle it very well. So I was kind of like, well, I don't think I want to do that. And he's like, what do you mean? And of course it felt like the second I said, I don't want to do that, he said, what do you mean? It fucking felt like we were in the driveway, right? So it was like it was interesting because it was a little awkward, right? I felt like because we didn't finish that conversation, right? So to be totally fair, I was thinking about it like after, because my initial reaction was anger, but that's okay. So anyway, so we go in, we meet the friend. It was weird because the first thing she says to me, like I walk in the door, right? Cute house, decorated really cute. But as soon as like I walked in the door and like turned the corner, she was like, how old are you? I was like, what? I will never forget that as long as I live, because I've been greeted various ways, right, throughout my lifetime, specifically, when I travel, right, I've been to 22 countries, really lucky. So I've had a lot of interesting experiences of meeting new people, right, mostly NATO coalition and their families and stuff. But it's the first time in my life I've ever had somebody say, how old are you? Instead of like, hello. So that was interesting. So 69 was like initially like, oh my God, like he was kind of angry. He was like, what's wrong with you? That's like so rude. And then she kind of laughed it off. And then I was trying to be like a bigger person. I was like, no, it's okay. I was like, I'm 50, I'm okay with how old I am. I wasn't expecting that the first fucking moment I walked into somebody's house, but whatever. Anyway, so it was a lovely house, decorated really cute. She had snacks. I'm always watching like what I'm eating, unfortunately, because my thyroid and all the army shit. But it was fun, right? We had we'd brought over some whiskey and some beer, I believe. And it was fun, right? So it was a fun conversation. I didn't do a whole lot of talking, but that was fun. It was a good time. But towards the end of that visit, though, we were like on a sectional, and 69 was in the middle, and she was just like, hey, so I want to take a photo. And he kind of looked at me, and I looked at him because it was like a first, and we hadn't had that conversation yet, right? So it was a little awkward. So it was kind of like, I don't really want to take a photo. And then, she was just like, why? Like, what's going on? Why do you want to take a photo? And I was like, I just don't want to have this conversation. And it's interesting to me because the older I become, because I'm 50, actually now I'm 50 and a half, right? I'm going to be 51 in November. But it's interesting to me because this happens at work all the time, right? So I think as females, we age and we become more confident in ourselves and our opinion and our timing of things, right? So as a 50 and a half year old rather, female in the fucking army, if somebody tells me to do something and they're not my boss, I'm going to fucking say no, right? I'm going to push back. Like I'm 50. I'm going to be, 50 and a half, right? Like I don't have that younger female need to please all the time. Like I'm definitely not a people pleaser, which we can go into later in case you guys have not noticed. Anyway, so I was like, no, I don't want to take the photo. So I was trying to not be like a total dick because I can be. I was trying not to be. So 69 was kind of like, kind of caught in the middle, I felt like, right? Because he's with his friend that he cares a lot about, right? And then there's me who, I'm new. So like, he's like, didn't know what to say or do, right? So I was like, I really don't want a photo. And then she was just like, well, why don't I take the photo and not put it on social media? So I was like, still don't want a photo, And she was like, come on, let me take one. Let me take one with your face not in it. And I was just like, all right. I was like, but I really don't want to be in this photo. And I just don't want to be in the photo. So I felt really pressured and I was like, no. And then, I know. So it went on for a few minutes and it was awkward. And she ended up taking the photo without me looking, basically, without me being aware. So I'm kind of half in the photo, kind of not. What pissed me off about it more than anything else was I realized later that day or the next day that she fucking put on social media. I was incredibly pissed because I was just like, it's invasive. I said no, and then you put on social media anyway. So I was pretty unhappy about that. But what was awesome about this story is when we left and we went to where we were going next and we made it back to his place, we had a really good conversation about it, and it made me feel better because I was just kind of like, it's a big step for me. It's a new relationship. I haven't been in a new relationship for fucking like 14 years. I figured that this is where we were heading, but I wasn't ready to do it quite yet, So he was really like understanding, and it was awesome. And that photo's out there, and fuck it, right? At this point, whatever, right? So I thought it was interesting to talk about first photo specifically because I think it's a big fucking step, right? And I think whether you're a 50 and a half year old female in the army or not, I do feel like each of us deserve to have somebody listen to us when we say no about something, right? So I'm okay with it now. Like I've processed it, the photos out there, whatever. But I do feel like when you're starting a new relationship or a new friendship or you're working for a new employer or whatever, I do feel like it's important to stand up for yourself, right? So if you don't want to do anything, if you don't want to have something done, if it feels invasive, if it feels wrong to you, then I don't feel like you should do it. And I feel like there's ways that you can handle things, right? So probably in hindsight, I probably should have been like, 69, I really need to talk to you to the side, to the corner. That way he could have addressed his friend instead of having me and his friend kind of have like an awkward conversation about it, right? Like we could have handled that differently. Like I could have been like, let's just step outside for a second, right? Or I could have just been more firm with her and been like, please no photo. If I'm in it, please delete it. Like I should have been more firm and I wasn't. So I do have that part to blame in that, but it worked out really well, right? So ironically, right, so once we had the gap between that first awkward photo that was out there that I was not happy with, we talked later, like that week about, once I had come back home about the photo more. And I was like, you know what, like I kind of regret not taking the photo. Next time we see each other, we're going to fucking take a photo. And he was like, perfect, right? So our official, actual, cute fucking first photo was so fucking awesome. We ended up going to like a brewery. I ended up visiting him again, I believe. And then he came to visit me after that. Anyway, so he was talking about, we're going to miss each other for St. Patrick's Day, right? And we both like Grunt Style because fucking awesome company, right? Like the guys behind it, so people behind it rather. And he was just like, he was like, so I'm going to pick up a little bit something for us. We're going to celebrate a little bit because we're not going to actually be together for St. Patrick's Day. And I was like, cool, no problem. Sweet. It's awesome, right? He's really generous. And I'm like, awesome. So ended up flying in. You had another great weekend, which I can probably talk about that weekend later. And then he had a couple of cute gifts for me, right? Because this was basically pre-Valentine's Day. Anyway, so he ended up getting us matching green Grunt Style t-shirts that say lucky motherfucker. And I thought they were cute as shit because like most people don't want to be like in the same color or the same shirt as their like couple, significant other, whatever. But I thought it was cute as shit, right? And I'm all about PDA and I'm like, oh my God, that's so fucking cute, right? So I love the fucking shirts. So we like hung out and then we decided to go to a brewery and it was really fucking awesome. And we had so much fun talking to a lot of people, mingling, trying different beers. I had a sour that was fucking awesome there. Anyway, so he's wearing like a sweatshirt because, it was kind of cold and I'm like in my t-shirt or a sweater or whatever, cardigan probably. Anyway, so he's like, so let's take the photo. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm all excited, right? So, I'm fucking, military trained fucking professional photographer. I have my own side business, right? Like I fucking know what I'm doing. So I had my phone out, right? And I was just like, okay, let's just do this. I was like, scoot up closer to me, right? Because we were in these really cute like leather chairs. I was like, scoot up closer and I'll just take like a bunch. Like I'll have my, my arm out with my iPhone, right? And I'll just take like a bunch of photos and then we'll just look at them like it should be ourselves and see what happens. And he's like, okay, right? So he leans forward. He's cute. He smells really great. So I'm like leaning in. So like we look at the camera, we kind of kiss each other. We kind of look away. Like I take maybe 5 or 6 photos. I don't take like a ton. And then I'm like, okay, let's take a look, right? So I was like, oh my God, I see a couple I like. You take a look at the phone and tell me what's authorized, which is really cute to me and funny, right? So he looks at it and we pick like the same 2 photos that we both really like. And I'm like, awesome. Like it's so great. It was like so seamless and perfect. And that's one of the things I think about this new relationship that I really like. There doesn't seem to be very many struggles, but I do have to tell you. So first photos, fucking cute. But I do have to tell you, speaking of first, and I did want to talk about first date number 40 is holy fuck. Okay, so I'm a recruiter, right? So I'm out and about, like in a, my local area, right? Like I'm in uniform, I'm in like a government vehicle. I have like these flyers, I have cards, I have all sorts of shit, right? That we drop off in like different parts of our community, right? Our AO, area of operation, because we're always looking for like new applicants, right? So the weather here was starting to change a little bit. So it was like a beautiful sunny day. Like I was feeling really good about life. Like my coffee was hitting just right. I'm obsessed with Black Rifle right now. So it's just feeling great. It's sparkling water in the car. So it's feeling good, right? Beautiful day. Going to one of my favorite fucking towns, right? Cute little village. Love this part of, Southern Tier, New York. I parked my car like next to a couple of restaurants and then this laundromat, right? So I parked my car, I jump out of the car, beautiful sunny day, feeling really good. Coffee hit, sparkling water hit. I have like fucking Oakley sunglasses on with my uniform, feeling really cute, right? Swing open the door to the laundromat. There's fucking nobody there, right? Fucking nobody. But they have this like little area right by the front door. It's like a cute little table setup where you can put like all sorts of flyers and like business cards and shit like that. And so I'm updating. Some of my old shit was there. So I'm updating, putting like fresher cards and a fresher flyer. I look to the left, right? Because I walk in straight and there's a fucking table. Look to the left and fucking number 40 was standing right there. The only fucking person in the laundromat. Like, what are the fucking odds of that, right? So my heart immediately like went to my feet, and I don't know why, but my immediate reaction when I saw him was fucking run. So basically, because I'm clumsy and awkward and whatever, and I'm dropping off my little flyers, look to the left, see him, and like my brain is like fucking run. So I immediately turn around, right? Even with Scrappy on my hip, I make this weird awkward pivot, and I like try to walk as quickly to the door as I can, which isn't very fucking far, 2 feet maybe. And so I make this weird pivot, and I'm trying to hustle, right? And I hurt my hip a little bit with that pivot, but whatever. And he was like, "Hey, you know." And he was just like, "So, always recruiting, huh?" All I said was, "Yeah." And then I knock over one of the cute little fucking chairs right by the door on my way out. So fucking awkward, hurt my hip, fucking knock over a chair. Like, in my head, I always feel like I'm this really cool person. I'm just really not. Anyway, so I get it. So basically I range walk, right? Fucking walk fast back to the Gov. Fucking take off. It's a cute little town, so it's not like I drove very far, but I drove basically across the street, parked the Gov, and got out to one of my favorite burger places, right? And ordered cheeseburger, whatever. It's a great local place. So I ordered my food. I sat down. I was waiting for my food, and I don't know. I got coffee or tea or some bullshit. I don't know. So I got my drink, right? So I'm waiting for my food. I have like my government phone, my regular phone, like my planner. So I was like planning out where I was going to go next, like literally on my planner, right? And then I was like, that's kind of a funny story. So I'm going to go ahead and tell 69 about the story, right? So I sent him a text. He's really fucking awesome about responding as quickly as he can. So he answers fairly quickly, right? And I'm like, "Hey, so do you have like a few minutes?" I was like, "I have a funny story," or I think I just started texting. "Do you need to laugh?" And he's like, "Sure," right? So I'm starting to explain. I was like, "Yeah, so I just ran into 40, and this is how I reacted. Like, I thought you would laugh because I'm so fucking uncool," kind of thing, right? So he immediately calls me, and I was like, "Huh." I was not expecting his reaction. His reaction was just like, "Which one is this one?" Like, refresh my memory. And I was like, I think we've reached the point in our relationship where I don't know if we should continue to talk about all the first dates. But anyway, but it was a funny moment, and I never heard from him, which is good, because if memory serves, I blocked him because, to remind you guys, I know I put this on my social media, but I never put this on my podcast. Number 40 and I met on a dating app, right? So we met on a fucking dating app, and he, I'm not gonna lie, he was attractive, right? He was a personal trainer on the side. So, like most of his photos on his profile were him working out. I know I'm fucking shallow, sorry, but whatever, right? Cute beard, sunglasses, tattoos, like pretty decent body, working out, right? So, anyway, so we started chatting. He seemed nice enough, but he was number 40, right? So, we decided to meet in his town, which is maybe 45 minutes away from my town, depending on the traffic, because it's like a smaller roads to get there, right? Less heavily traveled roads to get there, right? So if there's construction or something on those roads, which is common, then you're just kind of fucked, right? So you're just stuck there. Anyway, so it's kind of the middle of nowhere. It's kind of isolated. It's by like one of the beautiful Finger Lakes, right? So fucking love the town. Ironically, he lives in the town, right? So he was just like, "Yeah, why don't we meet whatever fucking day it was." We got along well enough. Like we, talked about like working out, food, couple laughs, whatever. just about random military shit, right? So he was former military. Anyway, so we decided to meet for burger and beer, right? One of my favorite things on the planet, right? So he was like, yeah, there's this place that I go to because I live in this town. Let's meet there. And I'm like, perfect, let's meet there, right? So the way it worked out, of course, I decided to drive to him, and it was just raining and cold. It's just unlucky, right? And it was raining so heavily that when I was on my way there, I was just like, gosh, I don't know if I want to make this trip on the way back, because we know me. I'm going to have fucking at least 1 to 2 beers, right? And I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be driving back in the rain. I'm not going to drive drunk, but I don't know, if I'm going to be able to see, I'm going to be more fatigued, that kind of thing, right? So I'm like, fuck it. I already told him I was going. I'm not going to not go. He seems like a nice enough guy. I'm going to fucking go. Sorry, it's my alarm. So I was like, I'm going to fucking go, right? So sure enough, I end up going, right? So I ended up meeting them there. So I text him. I'm like, hey, I just parked. I was like, where are you? And he's like, oh, I'll be there in a minute. And I'm like, okay. That always kind of annoys me too, but whatever. So, because I'm just kind of I traveled to you, motherfucker. You should at least be there waiting for me a little few minutes ahead of me, at least not having me wait for you more if I'm already driving. But that's just me. Anyway, so I'm kind of a little bit of annoyed. It's raining. I'm already not having a good vibe about this date, right? The burger place is really good. I'm not going to mention it, of course, right? But the burger place is good. People are friendly. It's decorated really cute, but I don't know. Anyway, so he shows up what feels like 10 minutes later. It's probably only 5, but I'm kind of a little annoyed, right? And it's raining and I'm grumpy a little bit, right? So he's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, hey, how are you? So he gives me a hug, and it's one of those awkward armpit hugs, which I never like anyway. It's just kind of a weird vibe already. He's attractive. He looks just like I thought he was going to look. Nice enough, so we walk in. It's one of those restaurants that you walk up to and then you order your food and then you pay for your food and then you go sit down, right? And then if you need anything else, you go back. I mean, you could open a tab or whatever, but you pay for it and then you sit and then they bring you the food, right? So I'm sitting at the table and I have my back against the wall, just the way it worked out, because it's one of those half booth, half tables, you have the wooden chairs and then the table, and then you have the booth, the comfy booth. So I'm kind of well, fuck it, I'm going to sit in the comfy booth. So I sat in the comfy booth part, the soft cushion part, and he was in the hard chair. So my back was to the restaurant, so I could see the entire restaurant from where I was sitting, right? So we're talking, like I said, I think he's attractive, he's in great shape. He keeps messing with his shirt because, of course, I'm not stupid. He has a fucking 6-pack. So he's, of course, basically trying to make sure me and the whole world realizes he has a 6-pack, right? So he keeps adjusting his shirt, but whatever. So it's fine. So I'm like, it's fine. It's a decent flex to have, right? So anyway, so we're talking, whatever, bullshitting, nice enough. And then he's like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I realized the whole rest of the fucking date, which probably was maybe 35, 40 minutes probably, I'm watching him, because remember, my fucking back is to the restaurant. I'm watching him the entire time walk around, bullshit, hug people, shake people's hands, give people high five. This is basically his place. I guess because he lives so close, he goes there all the fucking time, so he knows the whole staff, right? Knows all the regulars. So he's having a blast. And I'm like, good for him. Look at him having fun, right? But motherfucker, this is supposed to be our first date, and I'm sitting here and the burger comes, right? And I don't know if it's because I was raised in the South or whatever, but traditionally, if you're with a group of people, you don't start your food until the other person has their food. It's just kind of rude, right? You don't want the other person to come back and you're halfway fucking done with your meal, right? So I was always raised if your food comes, right, and then your other person or other people with you, they don't have their food, then you just don't eat. You just sit there and stare at your food and wait for everybody's food to get there, right? So I'm kind of doing that, right? So the burger shows up with the beer, and I'm just kind of well, I'm guessing he's talking to that guy. I guess he'll come back, right? So I'm just kind of I'll have a sip of beer because I'm trying not to be rude. Then he goes and he talks to another girl and then another couple, and I'm like, fuck it. So I have my beer, and then he's still mingling and talking with people. Doesn't look over, doesn't once make eye contact, nothing. So I'm just kind of so I'm basically on this first date by myself. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat my burger. Sorry, Mom, but I'm like, fuck it, right? So I eat my burger, which is pretty good. I have my beer, order a second beer, I get up and go pay for it. So remember, all of this is happening. I'm by myself. He's mingling with people, right? So I'm guessing this is his flex. So I pay for, another beer. And then I'm just you know what? this is stupid because, I'm like 35, 40 minutes from home, 45 minutes-ish because of the heavy rain. Honestly, I probably have better beer at home, so I'm just gonna fucking go, right? I don't even finish my second beer because everything's paid for, and he's who knows where, right? So I'm just like, fuck it. So I get up and I walk out the door, which is not a huge restaurant, but I get up and I walk out the door and I turn the corner and I hit the little thing on my fucking Jeep, looking for it to open it or whatever. So I get in my Jeep. Just as I'm about to close my door, he like comes out running, calls my name, and he's like, "What's going on? Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going home." I was like, I don't really feel like this is going to work out, between us. So I'm going to go ahead and go home, and it's raining really heavily. And he's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, well, text me, call me. You let me know you got home." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Right. So he tries to hug me. I basically just like slam the door in his face. I'm like, "Bye, bitch," basically. Right. So like, I make it home, whatever. So by the time I make it home, he has already sent me this like fucking paragraph text, which I fucking hate. It's a really long paragraph text, basically saying that I have a lot of issues. There's a lot of problems, that I need to address before I try dating anybody. There's like a problem with me having a podcast and dating 39 people, and like he would be 40 and he wouldn't be okay with it anyway. And I was just kind of like, what? It was just like incoherent. I'm guessing he was drunk. I don't know. But it was a really long paragraph text. Basically insulted me the whole time within the text, right? And of course I never told him I got home because who gives a fuck, right? Anyway, so that was first date number 40. So I know that this was a longer episode. I apologize, but I'm trying to figure out a way to keep the podcast going, right? Like I want to keep talking about first dates. I still have like a few of them left. I want to talk about my new relationship and all the first in it, but I'm definitely curious for feedback from you guys because this may end up being my last season. So if you guys have any questions, critiques, suggestions about anything, please let me know. I enjoy, my time, with you guys on social media so much every day. So just let me know what you're thinking about things, right? And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. And more fucking importantly, I'm here for you. So if you need anything, reach out. Okay, guys, that's it for now. And bye.